Good afternoon, Oak Grove. Happy Thursday. Welcome to this week's installment of the Midweek Update series here on the church's YouTube channel, where for no reason at all, I just populate into your devices in the middle of the week to say hello and keep the church on our mind for the other days of the week that we're not in worship on Sunday morning, because that is so important for us to do. So thank you for taking a few minutes to join me here today. What are we going to talk about? I'm just going to muse on a few different random things. First of all, I am dressed this way because I just came from seeing Tom Applequist. I would not normally talk about people who are in the midst of healthcare decisions, for privacy reasons, but because Kelly gave me permission to share with the congregation that Tom was moved in hospice care last week. It's not a secret, so, I can go ahead and share that. I just saw him this afternoon. He is doing okay. His energy level is low. But he is very much aware of his surroundings, and we had a little conversation, and for as much as his energy would allow him to, he looked very sleepy. But he did allow me to get in to see him, and so I've been able to lay hands on him and to say the rite of healing over him and to read him some scripture and to just give him an opportunity to reflect. So he knows that he has a small army of prayer warriors supporting him, Oak Grove, so please continue to offer your prayers and well wishes. Whether those are shared with Kelly or not, you may send your well wishes to them. It is appreciated. He knows that you're supporting him. So that's something I wanted to share with you today. What else am I going to talk about today? So at worship this last week, we had a little hiccup with our worship video. For those of you who faithfully tune in to watch us each week, obviously, we had a little audio problem, so I apologize for that, and I appreciate your forbearance bearing with us through that. The audio actually did start to work about 15 minutes into the broadcast, so those of you who didn't get to watch worship last week, if you go to the YouTube channel, you can see the recording of worship last week, and about 15 minutes in, the sound does start working, so I encourage you to avail yourself of that if you have not already. As soon as worship was done last week, I was texting with one of our shut-ins who said, well, since I didn't get a chance to hear the sermon, did you talk about Iran this week? And I said, no. I did not know about the strikes, about the preemptive strikes that the United States had made on Saturday. I did not know about that when I preached on Sunday morning, because I write my sermon on Fridays. I am willing to change it if it's needed. If there's something going on in the news that bears mentioning, I'm willing to change my sermon. But I read the newspaper Saturday morning. Then the strikes were announced Saturday afternoon into the evening. And my wife and I were not watching network TV Saturday night. So I did not know anything about what was going on until Sunday afternoon. Had I known, would I have changed things a little? Yeah, probably. What are we going to say about it now that it happened? Well, it is undoubtedly frightening. It is undoubtedly disturbing and unsettling, and it causes us anxiety and consternation for sure. But it is worth making the observation that human beings have been rising up against one another in war from the beginning of time. It just happens to be the case that in this day and age, we know about it a lot more readily when it happens, right? Because mass communication, such as this device that I'm filming this on right now, and we're going to share this on social media, mass communication makes it so much easier than it used to be able to see the horrors of war and to know that they're happening as soon as they happen. I remember when I was a kid, my grandfather had some of those coffee table picture books of World War II put together by Life magazine that would have photos from the war. These days, you can get frontline photos from wars on Facebook 30 seconds after they happen. And so it's on our minds a little more than it might have been in a previous generation because we see it so much more clearly, right? But human beings have been rising up against one another from the beginning of time. Is it something that we should not worry about? I'm not saying it's not something we shouldn't worry about. And I already talked about this in my last midweek video, so I don't want these to get repetitive. But the bottom line is God's got us. God's in control, ultimate control, and somehow everything is going to be okay. I don't claim to know exactly how it's going to be okay. Because when I say it's going to be okay, what that does not mean is that God is going to take away everything in life that gives us heartache. But it's okay means that somehow God is going to find something redemptive to make meaning out of everything that happens. And so somehow or another, it's going to be okay. And so I just wanted to address that is why I did not mention Iran and Israel in my sermon this last week, because I didn't know about it when I preached. My final random thought going in all different directions that I want to share today is that it is quite stuffy in my office today. Man, it's been a warm week. This is a historic heat wave that we're sitting through. Several of you have heard me grouse before in the past about the reliability of the electrical grid up here in New Swickley Township. Julie and I love our new home here in New Swickley Township. I guess we've been living here nearly 2 years now. It's not so much a new home for us anymore. There are so many things about the country living that we do enjoy up here. We enjoy the beauty, we enjoy the kindness and friendliness of the neighbors, being close to nature, the peace and quiet. But the power grid up here could use a little bit of work. I say with utmost love and respect to the hardworking women and men of Duquesne Light, who I'm sure do their absolute best. But it seems as though we have the slightest windy day up here and the power goes out. And then when the power goes out, it is out for hours or days afterward. Now, fortunately, in this case, it was a matter of hours, although where we came from in the suburbs of Pittsburgh, we were used to it being more a matter of minutes. We were used to our power grid being something like 99.7% reliable where we came from. And up here, we have already lived more days without power in this house here at the Oak Grove Parsonage than we did our entire adult lives before we moved up here. I would say the power grid up here has been something like 97, 98% reliable. That still sounds pretty high, and it is. However, it's not what we were used to as, soft, spoiled, lazy city folk coming from the suburbs of Pittsburgh. We were used to a power grid that was like 99.7 or 99.8 reliable. It was a hot evening here yesterday. The power went out on Harkins Mill at about 9 o'clock, and it didn't come on until 1:30 in the morning. And so we went to bed laying there in our underwear on top of the comforter, trying to be as comfortable as we could. Then at 1:30 in the morning, all the lights come on and, wake us up. So then we get up and go turn everything off. But while power outages aren't fun, sometimes life needs to give us a reminder of how blessed we are. It's easy to forget how spoiled we are and how good we have it until it's all taken away. And I have a parallel experience to like this whenever I get a cold. Every time I get sick, I don't know if you've noticed, I have a very narrow nose here. I'm going to talk like this for a second. I have a very narrow nasal passages, right? And so every time I get sick, one of the first things that happens is I lose my sense of smell and taste. And they go away for like a week before they come back again. Then, as soon as they do come back, one of the first things is I am reminded of the blessedness of living in the full world full of rich tastes and smells, the good ones, but also the bad ones when they warn you of danger, right? That I'm missing out on when I'm sick. And it reminds me to not take those things for granted once I feel better. Well, in like manner, one doesn't realize how blessed one is to be living in first world America in the year 2025 until your power, your air conditioning, your entertainment center, your showers are all taken away from you. Because, of course, like most New Sewickleyans, we have the well water here, so no power also means no water. You tend to take for granted how blessed you are until those things are taken away. And so, tying that in a little bit to the topic that I talked about before this, one could be tempted to grouse about the fact that it's 85 degrees in my house here without air conditioning, and I'm trying to sleep. Oh, is it hot? Oh, woe is me. One can get sucked into that, but then one remembers, I could be living in Gaza right now. I could be living in the Ukraine right now. Life could be a lot worse. I am blessed. Now, that doesn't mean that when we have problems in life that we're not allowed to complain about them at all. We can. We can complain. We can grouse. Somebody's always got it worse than you do. That doesn't mean that your right to grouse isn't still your right to grouse. But sometimes you have to have your blessings taken away for a little while to remember just how lucky you are. And so when I talk about God being able to make something redemptive happen out of hardship in life, Not that I'm trying to say that my spoiled butt going a few hours without air conditioning is hardship compared to what some in the world are going through. But when that happens, maybe that is how God makes meaning come out of it. That after bad stuff strikes, however light it is in my case, or however severe it is for those who are going through real problems in this world, it reminds us how blessed we've been, and it's a reminder to not take for granted that which we have. And so maybe that's how God works through bad things that happen in our lives, that it's a reminder not to take our blessings for granted whenever things are going well. So that's just a reflection to take with us. Even as I'm speaking right now, I can hear rain falling outside. God will bring something redemptive about that too. I don't have to water the garden today, so there you go. Where's God present whenever something that seems like it stinks? Where is God present in the middle of that? Whenever something strikes that is hardship of any kind, where's God present in the midst? I challenge us all to think about that. And on that note, I've been talking for 11 minutes. I keep trying to keep these videos as short as I can, but I just cannot seem to shut up. I will see you all in worship Sunday morning, Oak Grove. Take care, God bless, and have a wonderful rest of your week.